6 o'clock, sorry, let's get started. Today is Tuesday, May 27th. Welcome to the Public Safety Facility Advisory Committee. Can we get a voting members?
Recording in progress.
Dan Davis.
Craig Wilbur.
David Martindale.
Ryan Flanders.
I reckon that there are 4 voting members. Flag in
That one over on the wall is pretty close.
Hold Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tony, are you going to have to leave us shortly?
6:30.
Oh, yeah, 6:30.
Yes, 6:30.
So let's move on to the meeting minutes that were sent out earlier. If anyone had a chance to look at them, they were pretty extensive. I do not have any objections to, what date is this? This is the April
May
30th is what I have.
Motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And we also have May 15th meeting minutes. I did not look at these because they only asked one to apologize.
I looked at them, I didn't have any comments.
Yeah, it was a pretty straightforward meeting. I don't see, yeah, I don't see a whole lot.
Make the motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So, Tony has unfortunately given his resignation to this committee, trying to stay as, I guess, impartial as possible with his appointment to this, or his election to the select board. And we appreciate your time and your dedication and understand why you have to do this. And I wanted to just say from the committee that we appreciate all the time you've put forward. And,
We're gonna miss you.
yeah,
I'll be here.
we just hope that you will stay on as the liaison between the
Yes.
select board
Yes.
in some capacity, and
Yes.
we can certainly talk about that. But I wanted to thank you again for your time, and know you're not going anywhere, but may not be here as much. But thank you for your for the service in this. Does anyone have anything they want to say to Tony, or any comments?
Appreciate all your foresight and insight on everything.
Thank you, Tom.
Been great work.
As you on,
Thank you all.
I
we
still
wish you were
expect,
staying.
I still expect my 5:15 a.m. email correspondence. This better not end.
So noted.
If you've responded, you'll never stop.
We are both very early birds, and we found that common ground very quickly.
I motion that we hold our membership to 4 people. And
Oh.
not add another person to replace Tony.
Okay, do we have second on that?
Second.
Discussion?
I don't really foresee where we're at and where we've been and where we need to. I don't think it'd be a problem to move on without it.
Just with 4?
Yeah, because I mean, most of the stuff is primarily done. It's just as far as what we've achieved.
If we go back to our task at hand, we were to deliver a report, which if that is still the select board's desire, we'll be coming to some conclusions over the next several months. So I'm thinking that if it goes further and it turns into a building committee, then there's obviously going to be a refresh and a reset, and more individuals will be brought to the table. But at the moment, I would agree that we have 3 as a quorum, and we've seldom ever been below 4. I think we've been 5 for most of all of our meetings, so we're not concerned about
I
availability.
think most of the stuff that we're tasked for, as far as voting and discussions have been pretty much accomplished. It's more or less for public reach right now. Outlook.
So I would say, given the charge that the select board has handed us, I think we can continue and execute this through to its end, which presumably will be within a few months. And then, you know, if we stay on as a building committee, then to Greg's point, that's a reset and we can, you know, get 5 or whatever the correct number is at that point.
Any other discussion on that topic? Okay. All in favor of the motion to maintain a 4-person voting committee? Say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Community Engagement Working Group. This is certainly not going to be resolved tonight or put to bed tonight, but I'd like to at least start the conversation. And I took the liberty of taking some individuals' comments about what we should be addressing in community engagement, and just a kind of description of what I envision the engagement group to do. And I'm really looking for feedback, comments, things we may want to add, delete. And it's really just an open item for discussion.
So, I guess, do we have a task on how long we want to try to go with this outreach program? And then do we set it up at 3 different times, like maybe one during the day, one in the evening, and a Saturday for multiple times that we can meet up with the community here at the
I agree we should probably talk to that, but I would like to try and determine whether we agree with the 6 items
Okay.
here that are.
well, why don't we take
Number.
over with that, then we'll go back to this.
Okay.
So, first task was suggested to develop a clear, accessible information, materials, brochures, website updates, whether we're using media, social media, visual aids, and help this committee understand what it is the community needs from us in order to demonstrate our progress and what we're trying to achieve.
Was Brian gonna give us some research or some?
He will, as we ask him for items, we'll be able to start putting graphics together. And I think the engagement group will tell us what they would like to see, how they would like to see it. So if you'd like to see a poster board with some pretty pictures, we can ask to have that done. Sure. Any comments with that task as a task for the community engagement group?
I think I'm okay with that. I'd like to make sure that as part of that material, there was a series of 20+ questions that were submitted to Mr. Humes for answering. Perhaps we can go through that list and then add them to the brochures and the website updates to make sure that questions that were previously asked, we can disseminate that information out to the community to make sure that they're okay with the responses. And if there's follow-ups, there's follow-ups. But at least put the information out there as it's already been answered.
And some of that questions were not necessarily directed to Brian, but there were a number of them, but we should at least include that as part of that.
Right. We should go through that and add it as necessary.
So I'll add that to include the questions previously submitted.
Okay.
Any other comments about that first task? I mean, I think what we're asking you guys to do is tell us what we need. Does the community need to see a pretty brochure? Do they need to see a nice website? Do they need to see posters? What is it that is going to help us advance this? Is what we're going to be hoping this develops into. And I think a good question is how long? Because this thing cannot necessarily go on for months.
So I would think that if, not necessarily our police station, but if we had a blueprint of a police station or a scale photo, poster board of like a Sally Port, just a building layout itself. We already have our draft of what is required.
Mhm.
Okay, so we could take our draft and take the photos and then, the questionnaires, and then just have maybe something that this committee works up as a questionnaire that we believe, you know, for the town. You know, are you interested? Or what is the value of it? And just have a short 5-question thing that when we have our meetings, we can just hand out and they can check them off, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and give them back to us. So we can compile everything to get our own census of what the community wants in our outreach. And then turn that over to the select board also.
And that's, I think, number 6 is develop the
Sorry.
community survey question, but that's a good point. Just wanted, that is a good point. We do want to make sure the community does get some meaningful questions out. And that in itself could be a pretty invasive task for folks to.
Right, so, there's a couple of different things going on. So one is, we're asking about timeframes and all that. I would think we would want to develop this rough draft, right? We would want to develop this notionally the next month, and then, get together, make sure that we're okay with it, get feedback from the chief and other folks that are stakeholders here, and then we'll figure out the timeline of trying to set up the community outreach, actual meetings, the websites and questionnaires and all that stuff. It'll all come as we develop this. But I think, the statements of, we want to include information about what a potential police station blueprint may look like and things like that may come from some of the information that Mr. Humes already has, whether that's an existing similar to in size police station or something along those lines, and then we can talk to that.
I think we have something about our current police station, YouTube or something that the media helped us put together that we can improve. So we had something, if we have something like that, we could, if that was a 5 or 10 minute run, and then if Brian Humes had what's required today, like a computer generated 5 or 10 minute run, then we can do that, go through a questionnaire, okay, with them, and then our survey, and then a list of, have one blank spot for a question that they would like to ask if we didn't represent it between them, a few things. And if we could do that, like I said, 3 or 4 times, we should be able to have our answers back in a short period.
And Brian does own graphics and workshop material as well as being present for those types of things. I don't know if it's 3 or 4, but he owns, so we would certainly engage him and let him do the heavy lift. And explain the design, the narrative, and the story behind how we've got to where
We
we
can
are.
also engage him with, questions that are typically asked at these events. Let's try and get all those answered on a website or a brochure that we hand out or something to.
We've been pretty active at this for 8 months now.
Oh, nice.
9,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, no, is he?
So,
Time flies, fun.
I think that between all of our meetings been publicized and the community's already known about it, and so whoever's showed up to ask questions,
But
no, I'm just saying as far as.
I mean, you guys are saying the same thing, so.
Yeah.
I think we're on the same page. It's just getting into the semantics of how to break these numbered items down.
So, as you just read through this, it pretty basic stuff, organizing public forums and meetings, as you were talking about, Don, making sure that there's meetings set up where everyone can get questions answered if there's concerns, should have an open meeting and forum for that. Brian and I have talked, he said, just give me, 2 or 3 weeks advance notice, and he can put together whatever it is we need, so it's just a matter of figuring out when that is and what that is.
The only thing that I would have is social media type of thing
number
for
5?
this. Yeah, I just don't feel. I guess I'm worried about personalities and things like that.
You're worried there's gonna be negative comments on Facebook?
Well,
Never experienced such a thing.
Horrible people.
I just think
Asking for a friend.
if we just kind of keep that social media stuff out of it, or more direct with the people, looking at the people, talking to the people, and the people that are really concerned and really want to know, we're going to do our best to have appointments at different times in different areas so we can address that. I just think social media is gonna bounce a lot of questions off. It's like, when somebody gives me a text, it's like hi or whatever, but when a text starts turning into a conversation, it's tough to deal with.
So what I would say in defense of number 5 is that I feel that it's important to have a digital presence in all of this. You know, there are a lot of people that will come to the meetings, will certainly want to see some of that stuff, but if you have all this information collected on a page, maybe it's not necessarily a Facebook thing where people could comment and things like that.
Right, but somewhere they can see what our displays, they can't make it to any place at
Right,
times. I would
yeah,
agree
it's-
with some of that, but just like to have a back and forth.
No, I don't want to back and forth.
Okay,
You know, I would
so
think that
once
number 3 has a forum or an email or something where people can go and digitally ask questions to the group here, because sometimes people may come to one of these meetings and not think of the question, and then, you know, 2 hours later come up with it. So I want to make sure that we hear from people, but we can filter through all the sludge that comes with that sometimes from having a public facing.
I'm in agreement that social media can be left loose and not necessarily in a specific format, and if there's an easy way of non-responsive type of communication.
Just here's information, you know, on a bulletin board type of deal.
Yep.
I don't know if you can do
That
that
would
with
be great.
Facebook. Can you do a Facebook? Is it just a purely post without allowing comments? So,
You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
is it-
You can
is it-
shut your comments off.
You can always
I
delete
know
them.
this from experience.
Always delete them.
Well, I just.
No yellow ballot.
You can just shut all comments off.
I think whatever we put up, we don't wanna delete anything, we wanna be able to turn whatever over in its entirety. And I think if we just put up the, maybe the presentation or whatever, and just the questionnaire, they might be able to send back the questionnaire, we could print that out and put that in with a.
with everything else.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Or simply, I'd say direct people too, like the idea of the email address, just for people to reach.
We'll
out.
send-
Yeah, it's a lot easier to
Recommend
manage
that, and have
email.
some, you have some, like private conversations in the email format is fine, but.
Send them all the
Jeff.
agenda.
Yeah, Jeff just, I think he just volunteered.
Through the Dalton MA account, an email through the Dalton MA account.
Jeff, we're gonna send them all to
We
you.
are.
I can talk to Lori about it.
You got nothing else to do, right?
Yeah, Jeff, we're gonna send them all to you.
All right, sounds.
But if you get an address set up just for that email, that would be cool to do, so we could set that up, you know, so maybe it could be, give us a break.com or something like that.
I would probably just do PSFAC at dalton-ma.gov.
Yeah, even better, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good, Becky.
Any other comments or questions or adds to the tasks? I'm not gonna read each one because we're talking about these live.
So for number 4, you know, I'm just throwing Deanna on the spot for this one. Are you comfortable with being able to support that?
And I was gonna suggest, like, maybe instead of meeting here for some of those meetings, we could meet right at the station and kind of give some tours as well. Like, we could just have some designated time.
Absolutely.
We've been giving tours here and there, but nothing that's scheduled. So I think if we start doing some scheduled tours and getting people in to actually see it,
Okay.
that might,
Do you guys have a list of how many people you've toured about
no.
the
There's been, you know,
10, 20, 50?
10 to 20, like
Okay.
maybe more, you know. Pretty much anyone that comes in, I drag them in for a tour. I'm like, come look at this, it's great.
Can you
Like, you'll
include
love
the
it.
detainees in that number just to bump it up?
We're trying. They do not count.
So, having said that and talked about kind of what the group may do, and it may evolve into something different, but for the time being, my concern is this group is small as it is, and the working group is not huge. So I don't want to tax anyone, but I'm looking for a group of maybe 3 people who are willing to get together and work through these tasks and kind of be our communication to where community engagement stands. And
The last meeting, myself, Ryan, you were okay with it? And then the chief or Becky?
so as long as it's not a quorum and it won't be just you two, would be Ryan, Don, Becky. I don't want to put Dennis on the spot, and I don't want to put this out there. I know, Dennis, you had shared interest in possibly joining the group in some way. Could we and would we want to consider Dennis as maybe part of that group for community engagement if he's interested in helping in that aspect? If you are interested, and I don't know if we can really vote on this tonight, but is it something, you know?
Well, I think that we need to move forward in lightning speed on this, so, I mean, I don't have any problems with, Dennis being a part of it or whatever, I just, the smaller and more frequency we can get to get this thing to move forward, I think is our goal,
Beneficial.
yeah,
Yeah, it's way overdue.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, you
3
know,
sounds great, but 4 just seems like if someone can't make it or isn't available or needs to help. But I'm fine with keeping it at 3 at this moment and
I
taking.
mean, I just, myself with 3, I think it's easy enough to achieve. There's one less person we gotta worry about setting times, but I'm open-minded.
Yeah, it could be just, we're gonna meet at the police station
Yeah.
at this time, see you in the cell, don't be late.
Yeah.
And wait, Dennis, because it'll change.
Only one of us
So if
know.
you give us a few weeks, we may still tag you, but at the moment, I appreciate you at least taking my my on the spot offer. So 3 individuals, so it's gonna be Don, Ryan, and Rebecca. Okay,
Chief, is that,
now can I tell you the bad news?
You do realize that I can't
I
go
love-
inside you.
I love this game.
Chief, is that okay? Everybody good with it?
It is, it's an
Okay.
ad hoc group, it's
Yeah.
not a decision-making
No.
group, it's not a public body.
We
It
can
is
always
a
change it.
meeting for work that can't happen within this group to take place outside.
All we're gonna do is just supply the material back to this group.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
Ultimately, yeah,
Yeah.
it'll just be workshopping all this stuff, bringing it back,
Right,
receiving
making sure
feedback.
the committee and everybody likes it before it goes out.
And you're focused on that so you guys can really, drill in and do what you feel is necessary or what's not necessary. Please let us know if it becomes too much.
Sure.
Because we can always help with that. So I appreciate everyone jumping in like that. So I guess we need a motion that we're keeping it at 3 and that's, so want to make that motion?
I motion to make a community engagement working group of 3 members.
I second that.
Just an amendment to it with Ryan, myself, and Becky.
Correct.
Sure.
Uh,
Nothing else to be there.
So that's amended, so,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We would ask that, maybe the community engagement group tell us when we should meet again next. And you can do that by email once you've met, maybe, because I think really the next time we would meet would be to establish our next engagement activity at this point.
Do we think that we, meet back in 2 weeks or a month? And it gives us time to put everything together, less Brian Humes, less Brian
Yeah.
stuff.
It depends on, the three of you, if you can make that work. It depends on your time and your availability and all that. So.
If we wanna meet back at the beginning of July, that's fine by me.
Beginning of July.
So we want to do that after the 4th or before the 4th?
What we do at the end of June? Before the 4th.
Or
Stand by.
So that,
Stand by.
we've been changing our meeting dates, so we're going back to our Wednesday kind of go-to date?
So July 2nd or June 25th, those are Wednesdays.
June 25th probably, I'm not sure if people are traveling for the holiday. I'm not, but there may be people that might go places to do things.
So June 25th, same time,
6 o'clock or 5:30, tell me.
right?
6 o'clock is fine. So now that we're going out of order.
Why not, yeah. So the grant update for the Mass Rural Funds, because we don't necessarily have a property that we have in full control or an agreement with the town, it shifted our focus a bit. So the grant has the availability of community engagement monies, so that can pay for all of this fun postage and
Brochure.
feeding people and the things that may come out. So the grant will have to reimburse what the town will probably pay out in incidental costs for that at some point, because I don't think the money will come in nearly as in the speed of light. It'll probably take 7 months for us to actually get something, but we'll be able to have some money to reimburse and pay for that activity if that's approved. So that's really all I have it for Ann to this point. I've put Lisa on kind of hold right now with anything else. I don't see her providing any more details to you at this point.
So I think what we had put together for the draft that we were constructing of the report, I think we'll have to revisit that as we get closer to submission time again, but I don't see it changing much. Just get some new dates, maybe a few things will shift.
Lisa also has some pretty decent community engagement experience herself. So I would tell you that she does have some money available, hours available. So if you need to use her or bring her in, you can do that. And so I'll make sure you have her contact information. So if you want to contact her, you can. Alrighty, sir.
Craig, I'm gonna exit.
Hey.
You're being escorted out of the room.
Yes, very well.
Wow.
Hey, John, you left something behind. You left them behind, John.
I was gonna mention this, I'm gonna bring this up at tonight's select board meeting, just ever so briefly when comments are made, what the group has spoken about here tonight, very briefly.
Okay, I
Tony,
appreciate that.
Happy anniversary.
thank you again for
Thank you.
all your service.
I'll be
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, happy anniversary.
And our-
You're always back.
Let's how do you feel about 3
I hope
months?
you're going somewhere delicious. You going somewhere good after this? Going somewhere good after this?
So anything else we haven't discussed that we want to talk about or any motions that we want to make that haven't been made before we adjourn? Thank you. Another almost record. Let's keep that up. So make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.